My ex will spend every Christmas with us. Be understanding. I was, and brought her fiancé. My husband walked into the kitchen with that smile I had learned to fear, the smile that came before impossible requests disguised as reasonable favors. December had barely begun, and I already felt the weight of what was to come. Trevor held my hand over the granite countertop we chose together 3 years ago, when we still believed in forever. His fingers were warm, but the touch sent shivers down my spine. Vanessa is spending Christmas with us this year. She's going through a tough time and needs family support. You understand, don't you? You've always been so understanding. Understanding. The word echoed in my head like an insult disguised as a compliment. Vanessa Cole, the perfect ex-wife he mentioned far too often. The woman who understood him in a way no one else could. The shadow that had hung over our marriage since day one. I should have said no. I should have questioned why on earth his ex-wife needed to spend the holidays with us. But instead, I smiled. That smile I had learned to use as armor. Of course, dear, no problem. His eyebrows raised in surprise. He expected resistance. He expected drama. What Trevor didn't expect was that I would actually be understanding, just not in the way he imagined. That night, lying beside him as his soft snoring filled the room, I picked up my phone. The screen's light illuminated my face in the dark. I typed her name, for the first time in months, Vanessa Cole. Social media showed an impeccable life. Photos in expensive restaurants, trips to Europe, perfect white smiles. Nothing to indicate tough time. I scrolled further down. 3 months ago, there were photos with a man. Arms around her waist, kisses on top of her head. The captions were vague, but the affection was obvious. So why did Trevor say she was alone and in need of support? My stomach churned. It wasn't jealousy. It was something worse. It was the premonition that I was being used in a game whose rules I didn't know. The next morning, I called Ben. Benjamin Hayes had been my best friend since college, the only person who openly questioned my marriage to Trevor from the start. A divorce attorney, Ben had a radar for manipulation that I wished I had developed sooner. He answered on the second ring. Kate, it's 7 in the morning. Did someone die? Worse, Trevor wants his ex-wife to spend Christmas with us. Silence on the other end, then a short, humorless laugh. And you called me instead of calling him and asking if he hit his head? I said yes. Another silence, longer this time. Kate, please tell me you're kidding. I'm being understanding, Ben. Very understanding. Something in my tone made his voice change. What are you planning? I sat on the back porch, coffee cooling in my hand. The December sun was weak, but enough to illuminate the garden I had tended alone for 3 years, while Trevor worked late. How many of those nights did he actually work? I'm bringing her fiancé. If we're going to have a family gathering, let's make it complete. Ben was silent for so long I thought the call had dropped. You're serious? Completely. But I need you. I need to know who this man is. I need to understand what's happening here. Kate, this could blow up in your face in ways you can't even imagine. I closed my eyes, feeling the faint sun on my face. Then let it blow up. I'm tired of living in a marriage where I'm the only one who doesn't know the rules. Ben sighed, that sigh of someone who knows they're about to get into something complicated but can't abandon a friend. Send me everything you have on her. Full name, social media, anything. I'll see what I can find. I spent the next 3 days in a strange routine of superficial normality. I cooked dinner while Trevor talked about his day at the office. I smiled at the right moments. I asked questions about Vanessa's visit with genuine interest that made his eyes light up with relief. You're being amazing about this, Kate. Seriously, Vanessa will love you. The irony made me want to laugh or cry. I wasn't sure yet. Ben called me on Thursday night. I was at the grocery store pretending to choose wine for the Christmas dinner that was still 3 weeks away. I found the guy, Preston Cole, 42, works in private equity. And Kate, here's where it gets interesting. He's her ex-husband's brother, her husband before Trevor. My hand froze over a bottle of Merlot. Wait, she was married before Trevor? Twice before Trevor. The first was Preston Cole, lasted 6 years. She kept the surname after the divorce. The second was a whirlwind marriage that lasted 8 months. And now she's dating the brother of the first ex-husband, who apparently never got over her. That's complicated. It's a damned tangled mess of dirty laundry and secrets, Kate. But there's more. Preston Cole and Trevor know each other. They worked together briefly 5 years ago, right around the time Trevor was divorcing Vanessa. The wine bottle almost slipped from my hand. What are you saying? I'm saying this story about the ex-wife going through a tough time is a lie, and I'm saying you need to find out what the hell is going on before you put these people in the same room on Christmas. That night, while Trevor slept, I went through his emails. I'm not proud of it, but the knot in my stomach told me I was right to look, and I was. I found an exchange of messages from 2 months ago, Trevor and Vanessa planning the final reconciliation. Words like "she'll never suspect" and "it's only a matter of time" jumped off the screen like daggers. But there was something else. References to the inheritance money and Preston can't know. Mentions of a joint account that was never closed. Transfers Trevor made monthly to a fund I didn't know about. My marriage was a sham, but it was more than that. It was a financial operation. I sat on the office floor, laptop still open on my lap, trying to process. 3 years. 3 years of I love you, birthday dinners, plans for the future. All built on a lie so elaborate, I didn't even know where to begin unraveling it. The smell of old coffee in the mug on the table made me think of the first time I suspected. 6 months ago, when I found a dinner receipt for 2 at a restaurant we had never been to together. Trevor said it was a business lunch. I believed him because I wanted to believe him. How many other lies did I swallow because they were easier than the truth? I called Ben at 3 in the morning. He answered groggily, but became wide awake when I started talking. They're planning to use me to launder money or something. There's an account, transfers, mentions of an inheritance. Ben, I don't understand what's happening, but I know it's big, very big. Silence. Then the sound of him moving, probably getting out of bed. Kate, listen carefully. You're going to copy everything. Every email, every statement, every message. Send it all to me now. And tomorrow morning, we're going to my office and you're going to tell me everything from the beginning. Every strange detail, every little lie, everything. My voice came out weak, broken. I was so stupid, Ben. No, you were human. You trusted. But now you're going to be smart, and I'm going to help you find out exactly what's going on. I spent the rest of the night copying files. When the sun rose, Trevor found me in the kitchen, fresh coffee made, a smile on his face. He kissed the top of my head, grabbed his favorite mug, completely oblivious to the fact that I had just copied evidence of his crimes to 3 different flash drives. Are you okay? You look tired. Didn't sleep much. I was thinking about Christmas. You know, I was thinking it would be nice to invite Vanessa's boyfriend too. Since we're having a family gathering, why not do it right? Trevor froze, mug halfway to his mouth. Her boyfriend? I smiled, sweet and innocent. I saw on her social media, Preston something. They look very much in love. It would be cruel to leave him alone on Christmas, don't you think? Color drained from Trevor's face. For a second, just a second, I saw pure panic in his eyes. Then came the mask, the forced smile, the overly controlled voice. I don't think that's a good idea. Vanessa might not like it. Why not? If she's coming to spend Christmas with us, I imagine she'd want her boyfriend nearby. Unless there's some reason she wouldn't want him here. I let the question hang in the air between us. Trevor opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I was watching the gears turn, looking for a way out. It's complicated, Kate. Their relationship is new. She might not be ready to introduce him. Then why is she ready to spend Christmas with her ex-husband and his current wife? The tension in the kitchen was so thick it could be cut with a knife. The coffee cooled in our hands. Trevor looked at me as if seeing me for the first time, recalibrating, assessing how much I really knew. Kate, what's going on? I tilted my head, still smiling. I'm just being understanding, dear. As you asked. He left for work 20 minutes later, earlier than usual. As soon as I heard the car leave the garage, I called Ben. He knows I know something. What do I do? You do exactly what we planned. You go to his office, find out everything about the inheritance and Preston Cole, and this afternoon we'll meet with my private investigator. Kate, if this is what I think it is, you're not just married to a liar, you're married to a criminal. Ben's office was in downtown Seattle, a glass building that reflected the typical gray December clouds. I sat in his conference room, surrounded by folders and documents his investigator had gathered in record time. James Sullivan was a man in his 50s, gray hair, eyes that had seen everything. He spread photographs across the mahogany table, as if assembling a macabre puzzle. Their story begins 12 years ago, Ms. Morrison. In this photo, Vanessa Cole, then Vanessa Preston, was married to Preston Cole. He inherited $3 million from his father. The death was natural, but the timing was interesting. He pointed to another photo. 6 months later, Vanessa filed for divorce. In the settlement, she took $1.5 million. Preston was devastated, but he had proof that she manipulated the situation. Unfortunately for him, he didn't have solid enough proof to contest the divorce. My stomach churned. And Trevor? Sullivan smiled, but there was no humor in it. Ah, Trevor. He met Vanessa 2 years later. He worked at the same investment firm as Preston. Friends, apparently, or so Preston thought. Trevor and Vanessa married quickly. That marriage lasted 4 years. And guess what happened during those 4 years? He pushed a document toward me. Trevor's mother died. She left him a property in Bellevue, valued at $2.5 million. Trevor sold everything, put the money into investment funds, and Vanessa, as his wife, had access to everything. My voice came out hoarse. She took his money too. Half. In the divorce, she walked away with $1.2 million. But here's the interesting part. She didn't spend the money. All the money she got from Preston, and half of what she got from Trevor, is in an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, along with the money Trevor was transferring monthly during his marriage to you. I looked at Ben, who was sitting beside me, jaw tight. They never truly divorced, did they? It was all fake, exactly. The divorce was real on paper, but they continue to operate together. And Kate, you need to listen to the next part carefully. Sullivan picked up another folder. 3 months ago, your father died. The will left you the family home in Spokane and a sum of money, about $800,000. You said Trevor handled the entire probate process for you, right? Because you were grieving and he wanted to make things easier. I felt the blood run cold in my veins. He transferred everything to the joint account. He said it was safer while he sorted out the taxes. Sullivan and Ben exchanged a look. Kate, there is no joint account. There's an account in the name of an LLC that Trevor and Vanessa created 6 years ago, a shell company. All of your inheritance money is in there, along with their money. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to breathe. My father had worked his whole life. Every cent of that inheritance represented his hours in the doctor's office, his dedication to patients, his love for me, and Trevor. He stole from my father, stole my father's memory. Ben squeezed my hand. Kate, breathe. I know it's a lot, but there's more. I looked at him through the tears that were starting to blur my vision. What else could there be? Sullivan pushed a last photo forward. It was a birth certificate. Vanessa had a child 8 years ago. The certificate lists the father as unknown, but we did some tests. The boy has her surname, but very specific physical characteristics. She kept him away from everything, growing up with his grandmother in Portland. Kate, I'm 90% sure this boy is Trevor's son. The world stopped. Completely. I could hear my heart beating in my ears, slow and heavy like a funeral drum. They have a son. My voice didn't sound like mine. It was distant, as if coming from underwater. And all this time, all this planning, all of it, it was to ensure this boy had a financial future, but not just with their money, with my money, with the money they stole. Ben squeezed my hand harder. And Christmas isn't about reconciliation or Vanessa going through a tough time. It's about them preparing me to be the next source of money, the next target. Sullivan nodded grimly. By the timeline and the messages we managed to access, they're planning to have you sign papers during the holidays, probably something disguised as financial planning or a will, something that would give Trevor full control over all your assets. And then? He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I understood. Then would come another difficult divorce, another split where I would lose everything. Or worse. The word hung in the air, unsaid but present. My father had died of a sudden heart attack. Healthy, active, no family history. Doctors said it happens. Stress, modern life. But what if? No, I couldn't go down that path. Not yet. I needed to maintain my sanity. Ben, what do I do? He leaned forward, elbows on the table, eyes fixed on mine. You do exactly what we planned. You invite Preston Cole to Christmas. You get everyone in the same room. But with one difference. James and I will be there too. With lawyers, with all the documentation, and with the police a phone call away. You're going to make Trevor and Vanessa confess everything. And you're going to get your money back. And my marriage? My voice broke on the last word. Kate, your marriage was over before it began. You were a mark from day one. I'm so sorry. But now you have a choice. You can be their victim, or you can be the person who takes them down. I wiped away tears with the back of my hand. Inside me, something shifted. The Kate who walked into that room was broken, betrayed, lost. The Kate who was about to leave was furious and focused. Then, let's do this. Let's give them the Christmas they deserve. The next few days were the hardest of my life. Pretending normalcy while every cell in my body screamed to confront Trevor was torture. But I knew I had to wait. I had to make sure everything was in place. Ben and Sullivan worked 20-hour days, gathering evidence, preparing documentation, building the case. We discovered that the offshore account had almost $6 million. Preston's money, Trevor's mother's money, my money, and apparently 2 other victims they had defrauded over the years through fraudulent investment schemes. Trevor and Vanessa weren't just amateur con artists. They were professionals. And I had been foolish enough to fall for his smile, for the story of a divorced man trying to start over. How many signs did I ignore? How many times did he cancel last-minute plans? How many business trips that were probably meetings with her? How many lies did I swallow because they were covered with "I love you" and birthday flowers? On the night of December 20th, Trevor came home with champagne and that smile I used to find charming. Vanessa confirmed she's coming on Christmas Eve. It'll be good, Kate. You'll see how amazing she is. You two will get along great. I poured the champagne, chatted with him. Inside, I counted the hours. Actually, honey, I have a surprise. I invited Preston too, her boyfriend. I thought it would be nice for them to have that time together. The champagne glass trembled in Trevor's hand. Only for a second, but I saw it. Preston Cole? His tone tried to be casual, but the tension was obvious. Yeah, that's him. Why, do you know him? Trevor took a long sip of champagne. We worked together years ago, that's all. It's just, I didn't know he and Vanessa were back together. Back together? I let the word hang, innocent yet loaded. Oh, she was married to him, a long time ago. Before me. I didn't know you knew. I smiled. Social media, dear. It tells everything. Anyway, I thought it would be a beautiful family reunion. Everyone celebrating together, leaving the past in the past. Trevor looked at me for a long moment. He was trying to decide if I was naive or if I was playing some game. I saw the moment he decided I was just the wife who was too understanding for her own good. Of course, honey, it'll be great. That night, I heard him in the office, his voice low but urgent on the phone. He was warning Vanessa, planning, recalibrating. I let them plan, because in 4 days, all their plans would fall apart. Christmas Eve dawned with light snow covering Seattle, a rarity that would normally fill me with joy. The house was perfectly decorated. Christmas tree in the corner of the living room, white lights twinkling, smell of cinnamon and pine in the air. I had spent the previous day cooking, preparing the house, playing the perfect hostess. Ben was at a nearby hotel with Sullivan and 2 lawyers. The police were on standby, awaiting my signal. I had a tiny recorder clipped to my bra, imperceptible under my festive red sweater. Trevor was nervous. I saw it in how he checked his phone every 5 minutes, how his fingers drummed on the kitchen counter as I prepared appetizers. Are you sure about this, Kate? We can cancel. Say you're sick. And miss the chance to meet Vanessa? No way. I'm looking forward to it. The doorbell rang at 6 o'clock sharp. Trevor went to answer, and I heard voices in the hall. A feminine voice, musical and confident. A masculine voice, deeper, hesitant. I took a deep breath. It was showtime. I walked into the living room and saw Vanessa for the first time in person. She was exactly like in the photos. Beautiful, perfectly styled blonde hair, a smile that could sell anything. She was holding hands with Preston Cole, a tall, broad-shouldered man, green eyes evaluating the room with obvious caution. Kate, this is Vanessa. Vanessa, my wife, Kate. Vanessa extended her hand, a warm, false smile like sweetener. Finally, Trevor talks so much about you. It's so kind of you to welcome me like this. I held her hand, noting how cold it was despite the warm house. Of course, and this must be Preston. Preston greeted me with formal politeness, but his eyes said he didn't want to be there. There was something about him, a sadness, a tension. He looked at Vanessa as if she were simultaneously his greatest desire and his worst pain. We served drinks. We talked about pleasantries, the weather, the traffic, New Year's plans. Trevor and Vanessa exchanged glances that tried to be discreet but were too obvious. Preston noticed each one, his jaw tightening by the minute. I waited for the right moment. It came during dinner. We were at the dining table, plates of turkey and sides between us, candles flickering, soft snow falling outside the windows. Vanessa was telling a story about a recent trip to France. Trevor laughed at the right moments, casually, familiarly touched her arm. Preston watched everything, drinking wine faster than he should have. Then Vanessa turned to me, a bright smile. Kate, Trevor told me you inherited your father's house this year. I'm so sorry for your loss, but what a blessing to have something to remember him by. I gripped my fork tighter. Thank you. Yes, my father left some assets. Trevor has been wonderful helping with all the paperwork. Oh, he's great with those things, isn't he? So organized, so careful with money. There was something in her tone, an implication, a test. I placed my fork on the table. You know, Vanessa, it's funny you mention that, because I've been trying to understand exactly where all my father's inheritance money is. Trevor said he put everything into a safe account, but when I asked for the statements this week, he said it's still processing. The silence that fell over the table was absolute. Trevor froze, fork in the air. Vanessa stopped smiling. Preston looked between us, obvious confusion on his face. Kate, we talked about this. The money is... Where, Trevor? In which account exactly? My voice was calm, but there was steel in it. Because I did some research, and I discovered the most interesting thing. There's an LLC registered 6 years ago. It's called Cascade Holdings, and it has two owners, you and Vanessa. Preston's wine glass hit the table. What? I looked at him, then at Vanessa, then at Trevor. And all of my father's inheritance, all $800,000, is in that account, along with another $5 million that you two have stolen over the years. Vanessa stood up, chair scraping against the floor. This is ridiculous! Trevor, she's delusional. Am I? Because I have bank statements, I have emails, I have messages between the two of you planning exactly how you would get me to sign papers during this holiday that would give you access to even more of my money. I have everything. Preston stood up too, looking at Vanessa with something close to horror. Vanessa, what is she talking about? What account? What $5 million? Vanessa looked at him with contempt that finally broke her perfect mask. Oh, Preston, you were always so pathetic, so easy to manipulate. Do you really think I loved you? You were a means to an end, a rich fool I emptied and discarded. The pain on Preston's face was visceral, but he turned to Trevor. And you were my friend. We worked together. I trusted you. Trevor said nothing. He was looking at me with pure hatred. You can't prove any of this. I can, and I will. I took out my phone and dialed. Ben answered on the first ring. You can come in now. Vanessa ran for the door, but the doorbell rang before she reached it. Ben walked in, followed by Sullivan, 2 lawyers, and 2 police officers. The chaos that ensued was surreal. Trevor shouting about invasion of privacy, Vanessa trying to negotiate, then threaten, then finally collapsing into fake tears. Preston sitting in the living room, head in his hands, processing that the woman he never got over was a monster. Ben sat beside me on the sofa, a hand on my shoulder. You were amazing. I looked at the man I had loved, or thought I loved, being led away in handcuffs. I looked at the woman who had planned to destroy me, being read her rights. I don't feel amazing. I feel empty. The word died in my throat. Preston approached. His green eyes were red, but there was something in them now. Clarity, anger, purpose. I knew, part of me always knew she was using him, but I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe someone could be so... I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner, for not warning you. I held his hand. You were a victim too. We all were. But it's over now, for all of us. The days that followed were a blur of police statements, meetings with lawyers, newspaper headlines. Seattle couple operated fraud scheme for a decade. Con artists arrested after Christmas dinner turns into trap. Ben and his team managed to track all the money. $800,000 from my father, $1.5 million from Preston, $1.2 million from Trevor's mother, and almost $2 million from other victims over the years. Everything was coming back. Trevor and Vanessa would face multiple charges: wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, theft. Prosecutors were talking about 15 to 20 years in prison. And their son, the 8-year-old boy living with his grandmother in Portland, was confirmed through DNA testing as Trevor's child. Custody was being disputed. The grandmother wanted to protect him. Social services were involved. I should have felt victory, justice, relief. Instead, I felt hollow. 3 years of my life had been a lie. Every I love you, every future plan, every intimate moment, all built on fraud. A week after Christmas, I sat with Preston in a downtown coffee shop. Snow still covered the streets, but the sun was trying to peek through the clouds. How are you coping? He asked, stirring his coffee without actually drinking it. Honestly, I don't know. Some days I wake up and forget for a second, then I remember, and it's like everything crumbles again. And you? Preston looked out the window, watching people pass by, living normal lives where their spouses weren't criminals. I should have acted 12 years ago. When we broke up, I knew something was wrong. But I loved her so much I didn't want to see it. And Trevor, he reached out to me afterward, offered friendship when I was broken, and all the while, he was with her. His voice broke. There's a strange irony in both of us having been used by the same people. There is, but there's also strength in it. We survived. We fought back. Preston looked at me, really looked, and for the first time since I met him, I saw something beyond pain. I saw recognition, connection. Kate, I know it's early. I know neither of us is ready for anything. But when the dust settles, when the wounds start to heal, maybe we can, I don't know, get coffee again, talk, be friends who understand. I smiled, small but genuine. I'd like that. 3 months later, on a March morning when spring was finally arriving in Seattle, I got the call. All the money had been recovered. Accounts were frozen, assets confiscated, and every stolen cent was being returned to the victims. $800,000 returned to my account, my father's money, his legacy. I sat on the floor of the empty living room of the house I was selling, the house I had shared with Trevor, and finally cried. Not from sadness, not from anger, but from release. My phone rang. It was Preston. Did you hear? I heard. It's over. It's really over. Comfortable silence on the line. Then, there's a new coffee shop that opened on Pike Street. They make a lavender latte that's surprisingly good. Would you like to try it tomorrow? I looked out the window at the sun shining on the trees that were beginning to blossom. I'd love to. We hung up, and for the first time in months, I felt something beyond emptiness. It wasn't happiness yet, but it was possibility. It was a future I was choosing for myself, not one that was being manipulated for me. Ben showed up an hour later to help with the last boxes. He looked at me, at the small smile on my face, and smiled back. You're going to be okay, Kate. Better than okay. I know, but not because of them, despite them. Exactly. The trial happened in June. Trevor got 18 years, Vanessa, 20, for being identified as the operations leader. They tried to negotiate, plead, blame each other. In the end, the evidence was too much. The truth was too much. I didn't go to the trial. I didn't need to. My part had ended that Christmas Eve, when I refused to be another silent victim. Preston went. He said he needed to look into her eyes when the verdict was read. He needed that closure. When he came back, he looked 10 years younger. The weight he had carried for a decade was finally gone. We had coffee that night, and the next day, and the day after. Friendship grew between us, built on mutual understanding and respect. People who had survived the same hurricane and were learning to trust again. 6 months after the trial, Preston invited me to dinner. Not coffee, real dinner, with a reservation at a restaurant where candles flickered and the wine was good. Is this a date? I asked, half joking, half nervous. He smiled. That smile I had seen evolve from pain to acceptance to something lighter over the months. Only if you want it to be. We can just be friends having dinner. Or we can try. See if there's something more. No pressure, no expectations, just possibility. Possibility. What a beautiful word. I looked at him across the table, at the man who had been hurt by the same people who hurt me, who understood the pain of betrayal in a way no one else could, who had become my friend in the most difficult months. Possibility sounds perfect. Dinner was light. We talked about everything and nothing. Our jobs, places we wanted to travel, books we loved. We didn't talk about Trevor or Vanessa. We didn't need to. They were the past. Tonight was about the future. When Preston locked me home, we stood at the door for a long moment. The autumn air was cold, smelling of leaves and approaching rain. Kate, I want to do this right. I don't want to rush. I don't want to repeat mistakes. I want to build something real, something honest, even if it takes time. Time is all we have now. He kissed my cheek, soft and respectful, and left. I walked into my new home, smaller than the previous one, but completely mine, and smiled. Healing isn't linear. There are days when I wake up and still feel the betrayal like an open wound, days when I question my judgment, my ability to trust. But there are also days when I wake up and feel hope. Days when I look in the mirror and see not a victim, but a survivor. Ben visited me the following week, bringing wine and Chinese food like in our old college days. "So, you and Preston?" He sat on the couch, opening the takeout containers. "Maybe. It's still early, but there's something there. Something real." He smiled, that protective older brother smile. "He's a good man, Kate. He got caught in their game just like you did. But if at any point you feel it's not right, if at any point anything doesn't feel honest, I'll run, I know. But Ben, this time I'm paying attention to the signs, to the red flags, to everything. My eyes are open now." "Good, because you deserve someone who sees you, truly sees you, not as a mark or a means to an end, but as the incredible person you are." We ate in comfortable silence, watching a silly movie neither of us really paid attention to. When he left, he hugged me tight. "You were so brave, Kate, not just on Christmas, but every day since then. Choosing to move forward, choosing to trust again, choosing not to let what they did destroy you. I'm proud of you. Thank you for being here, for believing in me when I was about to sign my life over to a criminal. Always, you're my best friend, and I'll always protect you." After he left, I sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars. The night was clear, rare for Seattle. Every star shone brightly against the dark sky. I thought of my father, the man who worked his whole life to leave something for me, who loved me unconditionally, who would have been devastated to know how I almost lost everything he built. But I didn't lose it. I fought back. And wherever he was, I hoped he was proud. My phone vibrated. A message from Preston. "I'm looking at the stars, thinking about how life has strange ways of leading us exactly where we need to be. Good night, Kate. Sleep well." I smiled, typing back. "The stars are beautiful tonight, and you're right about life. Good night, Preston." 2 years passed like pages turning in a book. Pages filled with healing, growth, and slowly, love. Preston and I didn't rush anything. Each step was intentional. Each moment built on honesty. He introduced me to his son, a 10-year-old boy named Marcus, 6 months after we started dating. Marcus was shy, carrying the scars of having seen his father suffer. But gradually, he opened up. Gradually, he learned that not all relationships were dangerous games. I went back to therapy. I worked through the layers of trauma, betrayal, and trust issues that Trevor and Vanessa left behind. My therapist, Dr. Chen, was patient, kind, and brutally honest when I needed it. "Kate, you survived. But surviving isn't the same as living. When are you going to stop punishing yourself for the mistake of having trusted someone unworthy? When will it stop hurting? It will always hurt a little. Scars remain. But you can choose not to let the scars define you. You can choose to let them be reminders of your strength, not your weakness." It took time, but eventually I got there. To the place where the betrayal was a story that happened to me, not the story that defined me. Preston proposed to me on a spring day, 2.5 years after that Christmas Eve that changed everything. We were on a picnic with Marcus, laughing at something silly the boy had said, when he got down on one knee. "Kate Morrison, you taught me that it's possible to trust again, that it's possible to love again, that past mistakes don't have to destroy the future. You gave me hope when I thought I would never feel it again. Marry me. Not because we need each other, but because we choose each other." Marcus was beside him, holding a small box with the ring. His eyes shone with hope and nervousness. "Please say yes," the boy whispered. "It would be so cool to have you as part of the family for real." Tears streamed down my face. Tears of joy this time. Pure, uncomplicated joy. Yes, 1,000 times yes. We got married in the fall, in a small ceremony with only people we loved. Ben was my best man, making everyone laugh and cry with his speech about resilience and second chances. Marcus was the ring bearer, proud and happy. We didn't invite many people. We didn't need a big production. We just needed real, honest love, without games or hidden agendas. On our wedding night, Preston held my hand. "I promise to always see you, truly see you, your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your dreams, and I promise never, ever to treat you as less than the equal partner you are. And I promise to trust that promise. I promise to communicate when I'm scared, when I have doubts, instead of letting them grow into secrets. I promise to choose you every day, consciously. We are choices, not destiny. He smiled. The best things always are. 3 years after that Christmas Eve, I received a letter. It was from Vanessa, from prison. I stared at the envelope for an hour before opening it. The letter was long, full of hollow-sounding apologies, explanations that tried to justify the unjustifiable. But in the end, there was something different. You won, Kate. And part of me, the part that still has a spark of humanity, is happy you won. Because if you hadn't, I would have destroyed another life. And I think I've destroyed enough. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I hope you are truly happy. You deserve it in a way I'll never deserve anything but these walls. I showed the letter to Preston. He read it in silence, then put it aside. What are you going to do? I'm going to keep it, as a reminder, but I'm not going to answer. She doesn't deserve space in my life, not even the space of a reply. Forgiveness doesn't have to include reconciliation. Wise. You taught me that. You forgave her for what she did to you, but you didn't let her back in to hurt you again. Forgiveness can be silent. It can be just for ourselves. He pulled me into a hug. Look at us, 2 survivors building something beautiful from the ashes. And we built a life, a family, a home full of laughter, honesty, and love that was chosen every day. Marcus grew up, confident and kind, learning through our example that relationships should be built on truth. He called me Mom Kate, and every time I heard it, my heart swelled. Ben finally met someone, a teacher named Sophie who made him laugh in a way I hadn't seen in years. We had double dates, game nights, holidays together, chosen family. And on quiet mornings, when I woke up beside Preston, watching the sunlight stream through the curtains, I felt deep gratitude. Not for the suffering, never for the suffering, but for what I learned through it. I learned that strength isn't never breaking. It's breaking and choosing to rebuild. I learned that love isn't blind. Real love sees everything and chooses to stay anyway. I learned that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the person who holds you when you fall apart, the friend who fights for you, the child who chooses to love you even when they don't have to. I learned that the best revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building a life so beautiful, so genuine, that the past becomes just that, past. One December afternoon, almost 5 years after that Christmas Eve, Preston found me in the kitchen preparing cookies with Marcus. He stopped at the doorway, just watching, a gentle smile on his face. What's wrong? Nothing, just this. You and Marcus laughing, the smell of cinnamon in the air, snow falling outside. It's perfect. It's everything I always wanted, but never thought I'd have. Marcus looked up, flower on his nose. Can I invite Ben and Sophie for Christmas? And can we make that special turkey Kate made last year? Of course, you can. Preston joined us at the counter, stealing cookie dough and making Marcus laugh. And in that moment, surrounded by the people I loved, in the home we built together, I felt complete peace. Christmas arrived, warm and bright. There were no ex-spouses with hidden agendas, no lies disguised as reasonable requests. There was only love. Real, complicated, imperfect, but absolutely genuine love. After everyone had left and Marcus was asleep, Preston and I sat by the Christmas tree, lights twinkling softly in the darkness. Do you regret it? He asked suddenly. How everything happened, going through all that. I looked at the lights, at the presents under the tree, at the home we had created. I regret the pain, I regret the lost time, but I don't regret where it led me, because if it hadn't happened exactly as it did, maybe I never would have found you, never would have found Marcus, never would have learned that I'm stronger than I thought. He kissed my forehead. I'm glad you fought back. I'm glad you are who you are. We rested in comfortable silence, watching the snow fall softly outside. The night was peaceful, complete, full of promise. And for the first time in years, when I thought about that Christmas Eve that changed everything, I felt no anger or pain. I felt gratitude. Because that moment, as horrible as it was, freed me. It freed me from a life built on lies and led me to this life, this real, honest, beautiful life. This story shows us that sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the most. But it's through that pain that we discover our true strength. Family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choice. About the people who stay when everything falls apart and help you rebuild. Forgiveness isn't about absolving those who hurt you. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of anger and choosing to live fully despite the past. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories. Leave in the comments if you have ever experienced betrayal or learned to trust again. Always remember, you are stronger than you think. Healing isn't linear, but every step counts. And you, when did you discover your own strength?